Chinua Achebe, one of Africa's most important writers of the 20th century, was born in Nigeria in 1930 and dedicated his life to portraying, with depth and honesty, the complexity of African societies under colonial rule. With Arrow of God, published in 1964, he concludes the trilogy that began with Things Fall Apart and continued with No Longer at Ease. This novel delves into the religious and political power struggles within an Igbo community in the 1920s, highlighting the growing tension between traditional structures and British colonial influence. The story takes place in Amuro, a federation of 6 Igbo villages in southeastern Nigeria. The protagonist, Ezeulu, is the high priest of the god Ulu, a powerful and respected spiritual figure. Ezeulu is austere, proud, and deeply committed to his role, but his position is increasingly threatened by both traditional rivals and colonial administrators who seek to co-opt or undermine indigenous authority. Ezeulu finds himself caught between political scheming, missionary intrusion, and his own spiritual convictions. Tension escalates when Ezeulu refuses a British offer to become a colonial-appointed chief, considering it a betrayal of his sacred duty. As a result, he is briefly imprisoned, and upon returning, his authority is weakened. Trying to reassert his power, he delays announcing the time for the yam harvest, a religious duty only he can perform, causing widespread hunger and unrest. The missionaries seize this opportunity to attract desperate villagers, accelerating the erosion of traditional beliefs. Ezeulu's fall is both personal and symbolic. His rigid adherence to tradition, even as his community suffers, isolates him. The death of his son Odush, whom he had sent to a missionary school as a form of strategic engagement with colonial forces, marks the final fracture. The people of Amuro, seeking relief and stability, turn away from him and from Ulu, embracing the new faith. Ezeulu becomes a tragic figure, representing a collapsing order that failed to adapt. Arrow of God is a profound meditation on faith, pride, and the cultural upheaval brought by colonialism. Achebe crafts Ezeulu as a complex and unforgettable character, illustrating how spiritual power can be both a gift and a burden. The novel shows how colonial forces exploit internal divisions, not through direct force, but by seizing moments of crisis to assert control. With poetic language and historical depth, Achebe affirms his place as a master of African storytelling. To conclude, these are the 5 main characteristics of the book Arrow of God by Chinua Achebe. Continuation of the Igbo trilogy. This 3rd installment deepens Achebe's exploration of Igbo culture and colonial disruption, connecting them to the long arc of African resistance and transformation. A tragic and complex protagonist. Ezeulu is proud, principled, and ultimately doomed. His downfall reveals the cost of inflexibility in a changing world, making him one of Achebe's most profound characters. Religion as political force. The novel exposes how both indigenous and colonial powers use religion to control people, turning spirituality into a battlefield for influence. Clash between tradition and Christianity. The arrival of missionaries is portrayed as quiet but corrosive, offering hope during crisis and dismantling traditional structures from within. Poetic, oral narrative style. Achebe's prose mirrors African oral traditions, full of proverbs, rhythm, and community voice, enriching the story with cultural texture and authenticity. This was our summary of the book Arrow of God by Chinua Achebe. We hope it was helpful.